Where do you see the startup ecosystem in India heading? In what direction?
Now, I would say, as I say in tennis in the second set. So the first wave of entrepreneurs was targeting the first 50 to 100 million people who lived in the top 6 cities. They were essentially English speaking. There are about 175 million people who speak, read, write English in India. And we're a country of slightly over a billion people. So there's a tremendous number of people who don't actually understand, speak, and write English. And we have over 25 languages and innumerable dialects in the country. The next wave of the venture ecosystem in India is going to see startups that are going to create big success stories around the second set, which is the next 300 million consumers. So these consumers are going to be not about English. Their language is going to be their local language. Their needs are going to be different from getting a point-to-point taxi in a congested city. Their needs are going to be around education, healthcare, getting access to credit. I don't think many people know it around the world, but we have less than 10% penetration of insurance, health insurance in the country. We have less than maybe 10% penetration of formal lending or formal credit in the country in this segment of people. Our school education system needs a lot of repairs in that segment. The first 50 and 100 million people have access to a lot more resources than this. And the aspirers in the middle class, as I would call them, this next 300 million, they're absolutely aspiring for a better life, and they have every right to access a better life. Now, what's happened infrastructurally is that smartphone prices have never been lower. Today, you can buy a smartphone in India for less than $100. You have access to fantastic data speeds at the lowest prices ever in India. People are paying less than $5 to get access to 2 GB of data per day. And the amount of data that's going through mobile phones has tremendously increased. So unlike the US, and I don't know whether you would know about it or whether anybody would sort of have noted this fact, but unlike the US, unlike the Western world and developed world, 80% of internet usage in India is through mobile phones, which is quite unlike the US, where it's less than 40%, because most of the internet is consumed through laptops and desktops. So there's a whole generation of Indians, a whole segment of Indians, these next 300 million, who've practically jumped onto the internet just through a 6-inch screen. They're not used to typing. The English keyboard doesn't make any sense to them. So they're seeing content, they're relating with the internet in their own unique ways, in their own language and the way they understand it. So I feel that the opportunity out there for the India venture ecosystem is just started, and it's going to really blossom and maybe explode. I would use that term. Over the next 10 years, I think we're going to see phenomenal growth in startups which are targeting these segments which have never been touched before, simply because they're now accessible by internet through the mobile phones. And we will see a very different take on the business models than what we have seen globally, as indeed we have seen in India as well.